All right. Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Lane, and I'm a librarian and an organizer with the Indianapolis Liberation Center. I want to provide some history of medical racism in Indianapolis to give context to our press conference here today. Eskenazi Hospital's original name was City Hospital, which opened in 1857. At the start of the Civil War, City Hospital was closed to serve the military's need to provide care to its wounded soldiers. The hospital was reopened to residents in 1866 as Indianapolis City Hospital. The hospital began as a charity to provide care to the poor people of Indianapolis. In the 1920s and the 30s, this hospital was the only place to provide medical care to the city's Black residents. And over the years, the hospital has gone through historical periods of underfunding and understaffing. In its current iteration, this hospital is now one of many hospitals networked throughout the city. So our criticism does not solely place all of the problems of the healthcare industry on Eskenazi, because the system of healthcare in this country is deeply flawed, and that it is privatized to maximize profits for a small group of shareholders over its real purpose of providing quality care to the poor and oppressed people of Indianapolis. Yet, let Eskenazi, situated behind me, show itself as another example of how the system of healthcare is flawed to not always provide quality care equitably as the hospital continues to fail Black patients. There are two people with me today who did not get the care that aligns with Eskenazi's notice of accessibility and non-discrimination that reads, Eskenazi Health does not exclude people or treat them less favorably because of race, color, national origin, age, disability, or sex. These two people did not get the care they needed and were favored less than on the basis of race. That unveils this notice to only be words that are meant to absolve Eskenazi's and the police's actions or place blame on the victims of two separate violent police assaults within this hospital. Let's be clear, these two Black individuals here by my side today, as I stand by their side, came to Eskenazi for care. Instead, they were both violently attacked by police. So we are here today to demand systemic changes within Eskenazi where actions truly model your notice of accessibility and non-discrimination. Let Eskenazi serve as a model for other hospitals to follow going forward. You will hear about the most recent brutal assault on Jada Trainor in a minute, but first I want to shed light on a previous case that inspired Jada to come forward today to share her side of the story before she heads to court over trumped-up, made-up charges that could put Jada in prison for 10 years away from her children and loving husband. When Taylor Bay came to the Indianapolis Liberation Center looking for help to call attention to the brutal police force at Eskenazi and operating throughout this city, we knew that we had to help him get his case public attention. Taylor Bay came forward not for himself, but to stand as a warning to Indianapolis residents who seek medical care that they may not always get the care they need in our city's hospitals. In fact, sometimes you are assaulted by police who then go to write reports that attempt to justify their violent behaviors towards primarily Black residents. There may be others out there of other races and gender identities who may have had similar experiences in Indianapolis hospitals, and in particular Eskenazi Hospital. And we want you to know that we are here with you. In 2018, Taylor Bay, an elderly Black worker, a grandfather who just finished a shift of one of two gardening jobs, eats dinner in this hospital's cafeteria on his way home from work. It's a July day, and he's been working outside for hours. When he's done with his meal, he closes his eyes for a bit to relax, and that's when two Marion County Sheriff's deputies aggressively approach him, asking him if he is on the hospital's no trespassing list, to which he calmly replies, no. He tries to rest again, but is soon after approached by another deputy who demands to see his identification. As he gets up from the table to reach for his wallet, another deputy tackles Bay from behind, throwing him across the floor. The cops handcuff him to a wheelchair, leave the dining area, and as one cop pulls his arm back, another cop repeatedly kicks him in the stomach. For years, Bay endured the suffering from his injuries and the subsequent legal process. He went to numerous medical appointments, lost wages, and spent money he didn't have to keep living and paying legal fees. He continues to suffer from the lack of employment opportunities, housing security, and more. But worst of all, he can't play with his grandchildren like he used to before July 6, 2018. Bay searched for over a year for someone to take up his case, and no one would. Then, while watching the news on October 28, 2023, he saw a protest organized by a member organization of the Indianapolis Liberation Center. 2 volunteers with the center met with him days later, and since that time, we have been supporting and fighting by his side. Bay's main objectives are to shine a spotlight on this routine behavior of the law, to help put an end to it, and to let others know that they aren't alone either. Bay said, "They keep us divided and afraid. They want us to keep our heads down like the good old days, but we're not doing that." Bay is here today to struggle with Jada Trainor, who read about Taylor's case and is now inspired to bravely come forward. We are glad that Taylor's message is reaching others in the city, and may his story continue to inspire others to come forward, organize, and struggle for systemic changes within our healthcare system so that we can truly get the care we need, regardless of race or any other differences. Thank you. And next, I'm going to pass it off to my comrade over here.
Good afternoon. My name is Destiny Glover, and I'm the General Coordinator for the Indianapolis Liberation Center. This afternoon, we are outside Eskenazi Hospital, where Jada Trainor, a U.S. veteran, mother of 5, and an author, should have been able to just come and receive medical care. Instead, she was denied treatment after waiting hours, only to be brutalized by cops who then falsely accused her for reaching for their gun, a lie that now threatens to tear her away from her family and community for years. Officers will admit to grabbing Jada by the shoulder and pushing her toward the door. Jada says the cop grabbed her so hard that she bruised. The cops further admit that they grabbed her by the arm and tried to push her to the ground, where Jada thought in the moment that she had broken her wrist and her shoulder. They kicked her in the knee, pinned one of her arms under her body, once they did have her on the ground. The cops admit to all of that, but Jada adds that once she was on the ground, they pummeled her repeatedly with their elbows, bruising her all over. The cops claim that as she struggled to free her arm from underneath her body, she was afraid of having an asthma attack. She tugged on the cop's gun twice. That cop, Anthony Cisco, shouted that she was reaching for his gun. So she loudly pleaded that she wasn't, because she knew that it would be a death sentence for a Black woman to reach for a cop's gun. The police later convinced Ryan Mears to charge her with knowing or intentionally disarming a cop, battery of a public safety official, and resisting law enforcement. Jada insists that she did not and would never reach for a cop's gun. Eskenazi and the sheriff's office have no video that shows Jada reaching for any gun. No body cam footage, no surveillance footage. Nothing exists to corroborate their claims. But still, Ryan Mears is taking her to trial next week, with the only evidence being a cop said so. Jada's bruises provided real, concrete evidence for the cop's brutality, but none of them are facing charges. Because Jada was denied medical care here at Eskenazi, she went to the VA Medical Hospital, where x-rays were taken because of how severely she was attacked. Months later, she still suffers from nerve pain in her wrist, which limits her ability to use computers and impacts her career as a writer. Months later, Jada still suffers from the emotional trauma and fear after she was beaten, mocked, and rendered powerless by a place where people are supposed to be cared for. The Indianapolis Liberation Center stands with Jada Trainor and all survivors of racist police terror. Together, we can build a world where police can't brutalize community members and just get away with it. We can build a world where brutal attacks on sick people in a hospital is inconceivable, not regular practice. The Liberation Center calls for all charges against Jada Trainor to be dropped. Charge Anthony Sisko and Matthew Mottram for beating her instead. Finally, we're going to hear a few words from Jada.
I just want to thank everyone who showed up here today and believed in me and supported me. I am sad. I'm worried that this will continue to happen to other people. I'm hoping that by coming forward today and talking about what happened, that other people will be motivated to do the same. I know that there are people out there who experienced medical racism from the police, from healthcare workers, and probably think that nothing will ever come of it, nothing will ever be solved. But I hope that by sharing my story and that other people will know that it's not okay what happened to you, and there are people who stand with you and believe in you and support you. And if you say something, then that will protect the next person. Thank you.
All right, so we will have next steps going forward. We're going to be supporting Jada throughout her trial, and we'll have other action items for the community to get involved to help free Jada from this system of abuse and get all her charges dropped, and actually to get charges for these police officers that did her harm. So thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you, Jada. Thank you, Taylor Bay.